What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Speaking of entertainment, today on the program, I have C.C. Brooks. Oh, you've heard that name. Craig Cameron Brooks. Oh, you've heard that name. He's our man out there in Fort St. John, British Columbia. That's in Canada. Oh, Canada. I don't even know if I sang that right, but I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about C.C. Brooks in the next few minutes, so stick around. Oh, stoked. This week's shows, I have one public show for you. That's my usual Friday night gig, the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. Yes, I said karaoke. It's a little concert starring each and every one of you. If you've sang in your room, if you sing in the car, you can sing on stage right next to yours truly at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, Friday night. That starts from 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the AM. They got a full bar. The kitchen's open. Good food in that kitchen. Good food. The more you eat, the more you can drink. It's not me. It's science. I mean, I think it's science. Don't quote me. Don't look it up. Okay. They got 10 diamond-style pool tables as well. They got a pool tournament on Friday night. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, come on out to the Rab, Conway, Arkansas. Friday night, 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the AM. And then Saturday, I got a private party. So unless you're invited, you cannot come. Why do I mention it? Because Saturdays are made for private parties, weddings, corporate events, birthday parties. Yeah, that's what I'm there for. And sometimes I'm at the Choctaw VFW on Saturday nights. I think I'm there on the 20th as well. So, hey, that's enough intro. Let's get into it with C.C. Brooks, Craig Cameron Brooks, out there in Fort St. John, British Columbia. I got him on Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/KeysDan. Skyping C.C. Brooks now. I'm there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Is that better?
That's just fine. What's up, Craig?
Okay.
C.C. Brooks. We little minor technology. You said just before we started that you have every pair of headphones that you ever owned back in '86. If I still had those cans that I had on when I was at WKPX 88.5 back in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. In Davie, Florida, right in Broward, right on the beach where the boys are, where the nerds went to get their revenge on South Beach. That was Fort Lauderdale, Miami, that area.
Ever have those Sennheiser ones with the foam on them?
I must have. It's been
way back.
It's been more than 30 years. More than 30 years I've been talking into microphones and having headphones on my ears, which means I'm about half deaf. So I hear every third word unless I have these headsets on. But C.C. Brooks, man, how are things out there in Fort St. John, British Columbia, out there on the Alaska Highway, the old 97? Now tell me about that.
You have done your research. Yeah, well, it's actually a banner year for northern British Columbia. We have no snow of any definition yet. It is hardly. It's only -10 today, which is odd for January here, which is good because I just got back from Tulum, Mexico 2 days ago, and so this transition is nice.
No, you're still wearing your Mexican type shirt. I mean, you look like you just got off.
This is my Western shirt.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like you just got off an airplane from a big show maybe off stage, and you came correct. You came looking pretty because there's a video version of this podcast as well as the audio version. So you came stage ready, camera ready. Are you aspiring to be a man in front of the camera, or as well as providing the music, the soundtrack for people's lives?
Well, I certainly understand that in this medium, the visual aspect is equally as important as the sound aspect. And so, yes, I am prepared to perform when I am asked. And I have a great group of players that I get to spend time with that understand that when they perform with me, that I told them the other day, I've got a show coming up, and I said, listen, some of you guys are new, so just so you know, whenever I'm not talking to the crowd or if I'm not singing to the crowd, I fully endorse you try to blow me off this stage.
Well, that's part of the show, is getting to know behind the music, and that's what we're here for. Yes, you could play a bunch of songs, but if people go to your YouTube, go to your Spotify, go to your Apple, they're gonna find the great songs of CC. Well, it's CC Brooks because Craig is your born name, Craig Cameron. Yes, I did a little tiny bit of research, but I don't like to do too much. I like to know. I'd like to have it unfold as we talk through this conversation. Tell me about, and the top line of your bio says it all. How did you get into music? Your mom and dad made you play the piano. All right, my brother and I, we wanted to play music, but we could not afford to play music. But by the time my 23 years younger sister came around, my mom had the means to get her a piano, and she forced her to play that piano. Now, unlike you, it didn't stick. How come it stuck for Craig Brooks, for CC Brooks? Why did it stick?
Well, it was just all over us. My mom played every instrument. She played guitar, piano, accordion on occasion. And my father loved it. He was so in love with my mom when she played guitar. I always remember watching us. We had a thing called bread night in Fort St. John, and Wednesday night was when my mom would make bread for the surrounding area, and she'd make a double batch, and you'd come by for happy hour, which was usually around 5:00, and we would play guitars, and you'd walk away with a loaf of bread, homemade bread, and I watched that. Like I said, I spent 5 years playing the piano. Then I got a drum kit out of the blue for Christmas, and my two brothers got guitars, and it was my father's desire that music be a part of our lives. And so I owe him a lot for that, because it truly did change the course. I was destined to be a lawyer in grade 11, and I got in this band, and I took my vehicle and I traded off my vehicle for a 54 passenger school bus, and we fixed it up. And I told my dad, I'm not going to go be a lawyer. I'm going to go be a musician. So he didn't approve of that very much, but he said, well, you're on your own, son, if you do that. And I said, I get it, Dad. And as time went on, he learned to appreciate my efforts and the fact that I did work very hard at it. And before he died, he did get to see me reach some notoriety. So it was a good thing.
Well, I think it was your parents' fault that you took the road that the Partridge Family took, where they bought the bus.
Yeah.
Did you paint it all up with fancy colors, somewhat like the Partridge Family? That's what I'm kind of imagining.
No, the money wasn't there. It was purple and white. I don't know who it came from. I remember I had a 76 Ford van, all done up with a stereo and all fancy in the back. And back in the 70s, van culture was huge. And I traded it off to this guy, and it was a piece of junk. And we just held it together for as long as we could. And some of the greatest memories I've ever had were traveling across Canada in contraption.
Well, like I said, it was your parents' fault for pushing you in that direction. Lawyer was not in the cards. No way. If they're giving you a piano, a drum kit, and your brother's guitars, they were forming a band. Or were they trying to form the Jackson Five, the Silvers? Or the what is the Canadian equivalent of the Jackson Five out of Gary, Indiana? What would be your 5-person family or a family that plays music up in Canada?
There was the Poppy family, and that was, I think that was Susan Jacks and Terry Jacks. He had a big hit called Seasons in the Sun back in the late 60s, early 70s. And Susan Jacks was a phenomenal singer and entertainer, and we actually had the privilege of spending time with her at the Country Music Awards for Canada about a decade ago before she passed. So, the Poppy family would definitely been one of those for sure. But I think it was just my dad's desire to make sure that music was a part of our lives. And it's certainly my son, without any provocation, is now a professional musician himself. He's a drummer and a singer and a songwriter. But I did not encourage that. I didn't discourage it, but I'd been through the wheel, and I told him that this is a life. It's a lifestyle. It's not a life per se, and you'd be better prepared for what you're going to get out of it and what it's going to deny you. And he's embraced that, and so I wish him all the best.
Well, you've told a piece of your mom and dad's love story, his love for her playing music. Yes, I've always been fascinated by people that can pick up an instrument and actually play it to some degree of quality. And I have had guitars. In fact, just today, my wife had me moving the full keyboard, piano, this real professional setup from one room to the other. And I do appreciate when she tickles those keys. It makes me feel so happy that she can play the piano. And then, I have my kid that can play as well. I haven't heard the kid play in a while, but I hope that comes back. We have this beautiful piano, and I like hearing that. I heard her kind of tickle the keys. My wife was tickling the keys as she was plugging it back in. But I do appreciate somebody who can make that music. Now, your mom, she was playing all these instruments. Was she some kind of a professional musician, somewhat like yourself?
No, not at all. She was an entertainer, definitely. She was in these folly shows where she would dance and she would do makeup for people, and she was certainly an entertainer. Our house was always full of people. My father was a real estate salesman. Our house was the source of a lot of get-togethers for the people of our community. And my mother was absolutely the hostess with the mostest. She was an incredible cook. She had a beautiful home, and she carried herself much like Grace Kelly. She was a true 50s model in the sense. And my dad was this entrepreneur and kind of power couple in this little growing town in northern British Columbia. So I just got to watch that. I was a fully versed bartender by the time I was 12. I could mix almost any cocktail you wanted. And when I was, I would have been about 7 or 8, and we went to Disneyland. But after we had our time in Disneyland, I got to spend 4 days in Vegas with my family because that was the trade-off. And I remember going and seeing Wayne Newton. We were front row, and Wayne Newton came out and leaned down and sang, "I've got some red roses for a blue lady to my sister." And I was sitting there watching that happen. And I think those seeds were being planted and going, wow, this looks like a pretty interesting life. And these lights, this attention. It seemed like something I wanted to do. And I think that when it really hit is I happened to be traveling to Italy when I was in grade 9 on a school trip. And my sister had managed to get us tickets to Queen in Edmonton, Alberta. and I didn't even know who Queen was at the time. And I went to that show, and Thin Lizzy was opening up when Boys Are Back in Town was big. And that, if there was any doubt the day before that, when I left that concert, there was no doubt.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I've been a Queen fan for the longest time. And my goodness, to see them live was a wish that I always had. I mean, how was it, man? Was it Wembley Stadium all over again? Were you watching those four boys just do their thing and just saying, yeah, that looks like something that I want to do?
It looked like magic. It just looked like magic. It did. It looked like something, but I didn't know how they did it. But I know, and I started right then and there and formed. We were. I was, kind of in a band at that time with some guys, but we settled in, and I went to what I always do is whenever, if I want to buy something, if I want to do anything, first of all, you have to get documentation to back up your theory. So I went to my library in my junior high, and there happened to be a book called How to Form a Rock Group. It still exists. I Googled it, and I really wish I just would have stolen it so I had the original version. But it was a British version of How to Form a Rock Group. And so I just bought that, or I just took it from the library and kept it for the year, and we just followed it. And it required a certain amount of practice per day, certain elements, and we followed that for a good long time and got ourselves set up for success. So.
Well, I think you might owe that library about 25 cents for that long overdue book, but I'm glad that you made good use of it. And any sensible librarian would say it was in good hands and being put to good use. So you read that book, you figured it out. My goodness. But I too went to Vegas when I was way too young on a family trip where I could not gamble, but the shows. Oh my goodness. To see Wayne Newton, to be in the front row, to be in any row at a Wayne Newton concert or an Elvis concert or Celine Dion or Britney Spears, whoever's got a residency there. There's a reason for it because they can put those shows on night after night after night, and they hone them kind of like a play.
Yeah.
And they're performing and they're telling stories. You're telling me that you're telling stories while you're singing. That's what I enjoy. Yes, you can buy a record, you can buy a single and listen to the music, listen to the tracks, feel the grooves. But when you go to a live show, when you go to a C.C. Brooks show, you're going to get a story behind the music. I know you have a YouTube page that only has 3 videos on it, but then you have kind of a topic page that gives me the old dog, new tricks lineup. And I'm just listening through the tracks and I'm listening. It's that good Americana type, very, very good. Just sitting in the backyard, having a cold one with your friends, with your family, chilling out. And the one that I really liked was Everybody's Got a Harley. I do appreciate a song that you can two-step to. It's upbeat. It's bouncy. Whenever I'm doing a show, whenever I'm DJing at a show, I don't play instruments. All I can do is play your songs. So this weekend at the Rab, Everybody's Got a Harley but me is going to be played. I'm going to say, any two-steppers out there? I want to see you two-step. And they're going to go, who is this playing? And I'm going to go, oh, that's C.C. Brooks. Look him up. But, I appreciate the different types of music. You got chill. You got a little more upbeat. You got a little down. It keeps going back and forth, kind of like a workout where you would high energy, little low, high, little low, high, little low, and then bounce with that Harley. And then the smartest thing you probably ever could do as a musician is make a Christmas song. You have a My Christmas Wish to You that's going to pop up every year. Right behind Mariah Carey, there's going to be C.C. Brooks getting played right on that same station. So you've got it all. You've got the formula. Who's helping you to drive all this, make the right kind of music at the right time? How did you figure all this out? Was it all that book?
No, there's a number of books I've read, and some great, absolutely fantastic people I've met over the years. I've met some very, very talented people that have been kind and gracious to share what they know. Most of the writing has been trial and error. There's some other books that I've read about this constructs of writing, so that at least I'm working with a construct that fits what the human ear is ready to accept. We're obviously we're trying to be unique, but at the same time, it has to be something that the ear can digest if you want to get your message across. It's funny you mentioned that. I do struggle with up-tempo songs. Some people, that's all they can write. Some people, I find myself more in more of a mid-tempo and low-tempo song for the most part. I have some new ones that are coming out. I've just penned another one from the last time I was in Nashville. We have a home there, and I go there every chance I get for inspiration. That's where I recorded this music that is just most recent at a fantastic studio with some great players. But I've got this new one called Drink Broadway Dry, and it's a story about the first time I went to Nashville to record an album with a band I was with. And we spent a whole week and never went downtown because we were in the studio. And when we finally finished recording the album, I said, we're going to go downtown and we're going to have a shot and a beer at every bar. I had no idea the depth of that challenge because I'd never been there. I never realized also how big the shots were. Anyway, that didn't go that well, and it didn't go that long. But I thought of this song about drinking Broadway Dry. So, and this is a very upbeat, honky tonk type of thing, and I'm challenging myself to do more of that stuff. But the song is the moments that they create, and some of my mentors like Bruce Springsteen, the master himself. And I've spent some time with a gentleman that does this for a living, and he teaches performance. His name's Tom Jackson, and amazing gentleman. And he's worked with everybody from U2 to Taylor Swift. But him and I, we ended up in a bar one night at a conference, and it's just what's important for the songs is where the moments are. And if I write songs in the hope that I can create a moment within that song, so that although the recorded version of Everybody's Got a Harley you would enjoy, I want to make sure that if you come to my show, that you'll have a moment that will resonate with you in that song, that will make that song really stick with you. I don't believe anybody has ever become a true fan of an artist till they've seen them live. And the true great performers and artists, that's how they gain their fans, is traveling and getting them to see them live. And once you've seen that, you just never go back. It just sticks with you. Like, it's not like a video. It's not like a reel. No, when you're actually standing there watching that human being perform that song and he gives you those moments, you're a fan for life. So that's what I try to do with my music.
Yeah. See, well, Craig, I don't know whether to call you Craig or CC.
Whatever you like, sir.
All right. Well, we'll go with Craig. Hey, I'm feeling good. Hey, but you're talking about tempo, and the only reference, the first movie reference that I ever had for a tempo of a song was called That Thing You Do, the Tom Hanks movie that had that fictitious band called the Wonders, I guess. And I think that
one of my favorite movies, by the way.
Yeah, and the one who Fountains of Wayne was the one that wrote the title song. The ones that wrote Stacy's Mom Has Got It Going On. Well, they wrote That Thing You Do, and in the course of the movie, the lead singer, who's the singer songwriter, has written this ballad, and he's singing it real nice and slow. But the drummer comes up with this real fast tempo and starts, double timing it, triple timing it. And the singer just has to go with it because they're performing live. Do you have those times when you've written a song and you say, oh, this would be a nice, slow, easy ballad song, but then maybe the rest of your band or a producer or someone comes into your ear, maybe a partner, a girlfriend, boyfriend, somebody that a friend, pops in and says, this needs to be a little faster or a little slower. Have you ever had those times?
Absolutely. I've worked with publishing companies trying to get some of my stuff placed with other artists which is certainly I've only accomplished once so far. Love to do it again. I really, for me as a songwriter, I can go out and save all my money, and I can record and I can release songs and I can put them out all over the world. But for someone to actually listen to a song I wrote and say, I like that so much, I want to sing it, that is truly the greatest compliment a songwriter can get. But I digress a little. Yes, I work with a great group of people right now out of Franklin, Tennessee. Have you been to Nashville yet?
Okay. I was going to bring that up a little bit later on because I have that in my mind. I've been to Memphis. I'm a fan of the king of rock and roll. Been through Graceland, been all over Memphis and enjoy Memphis, but I've never been as far as Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee. Heard tell of it. Man, I did want to get your viewpoint, your stories, because I've been to Beale Street, and I know that there's music after music after music after music. Been all over Vegas, different types of music as you go from one room to another. I've been in Miami, different types of music. As you walk down South Beach, there'll be a salsa band and a country band and a rock band and an underground band. What are your views on, you wrote a song about Broadway, so maybe I should just listen to that song. But what was your impression of Broadway in Nashville?
Well, the first time you go there, everybody sounds so good. And you can't believe the talent, and you can't believe it's a little defeating. You kind of go, who am I? Who am I to even be standing here? And my band at the time, it was about a decade ago, they got all downhearted because we'd done this money and we'd done this album, but listen to all those guys, and if they can't make it, I said, you know what, guys, it's not about making it. It's about creating it and letting the gods do what they do with it. I just got back from Memphis last year. My wife took me there because we've been to Nashville for the last 7 years, and we never made it to Memphis. We're busy in Nashville. So we went down for my birthday, and of course, stayed at the, what's the name of the hotel there? With the Ducks. We stayed at the.
I think we have one in Arkansas that has the Ducks. I think they're the same. They're the same family of ducks too. What's the hotel with the Ducks?
It's 3 blocks. It's 3 blocks off Beale. You got Lansky's.
The Peabody
clothing.
The Peabody.
The Peabody. Yes.
I got my loving producer / wife out there in the other room, and she remembers things.
I've still got the little soap duck from there, and then you walk 2 blocks down to Beale Street, Lansky's Menswear is right in the lobby. The son of the original Lansky who clothed Elvis and B.B. King, he's standing right there selling you clothes. Robert Plant, missed him by a day, he was there. All these places, and if you go to, I took my son to L.A. and we went all the way down Hollywood Boulevard, and we went to the Rainbow, and we went to all the famous places there, the Troubadour. These are all bucket list places that you need to go and see. Broadway certainly. I would say the only thing about Nashville is to remember is that Broadway's not the only place they play music, and mostly Broadway is not a place where you're going to hear original music. You're going to hear cover music, and they do it wonderfully. But if you're going to want to go to Douglas Corner or the Listening Room, this is where the songwriters that you've never heard of, that may or may not have had a hit, or did have one 20 years ago and are still out there writing songs. And they're just sitting on a chair with their guitar and they're singing their songs for you. This is obviously for me where I spend my time. But Beale is just so rhythm and blues and so much about the King. And when we first went there, Andrew said, "Well, we're here. Let's go to Graceland." I said, "Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right?" I wasn't freaking about it. It wasn't a bucket list thing. I said, but if we're in Memphis, we're going to see Graceland. And after that tour, I promise you, the next time I go to Nashville, I'm going back to Graceland. I'll drive the 3 hours. It is it is something. You can't explain it. It's you got to go see it, and you got to feel it, and realize that man, as is one of the great founders, not the founders, but one of the great founders, and certainly Caucasian founders of rock and roll. And he had so much respect for the original founders of Chuck Berry, B.B. King, everybody. That it's just truly historical, and it gives you a reference for, like you say, you never know where you're going till you know where you've been, and it doesn't matter if it's country or it's rock or it's blues. All of this music is right down in that hub, and it's electrifying. It just fills up my gas tank. I come back to Canada and I'm full again, and whenever I'm feeling down, and I just go back down and get filled back up again.
My grandmother got me into Elvis Presley when I was a little kid. And, I went to Graceland for the first time in 1999. Now, I've been 2 other times since. The first time I was able to go up the stairs and look into the bedroom, and they had a mirror that was facing into the bathroom. You couldn't go into the bedroom, but you can see where the king found his faithful diamond. Now, as time progressed, the story of Elvis Presley is the story of the music business itself, its ups and downs, how it can eat you alive if you don't watch out. The business part of it is just, Colonel Tom Parker, who got introduced to Elvis very young in his career, 55, 56, got introduced by Hank Snow, one of your fellow countrymen. Yeah. Hank Snow was who introduced,
and one of my heroes.
Introduced Tom Parker to Elvis Presley, and Tom Parker being who he was. And I don't know if you've heard the story, or you've even seen the latest Baz Luhrmann movie. That's supposed to be kind of from Parker's point of view into the maybe a fair and balanced. I don't know. Everything's visualized and commercialized, but if you kind of delve into that, the life of Elvis Presley, it's like, man, it feels like there's a study that there's a whole course that can be given in a music school on the king of rock and roll and how he became and why he became.
I think that's important to tell musicians, especially young ones. And I when I meet young musicians, I go, this is not a destination. And that was a mistake I made. I was in a rock band for many years. I toured across Canada. And it seemed like the clock was ticking, and they needed to get somewhere in a certain amount of time, or else my chances were limited. And yes, that is true. If you want to be a female pop star, and nowadays, you better get at it fairly early. But if you want to be a musician, there's only a couple of sports I play anymore that I enjoy, and they're mostly individual sports. And one of them is golf. And golf is a strategic game. It is a mental game. Everybody has probably parred every hole on their golf course, their home golf course, once in their life. They've just never done it 18 times. And so, the reason you can't do that is mental. It's not physical. Once you've done your 10,000 hours and you know your craft, which is what they say it takes, then you have to decide what matters to you. And I was misguided. I was young, and I grew up in the city of Vancouver, British Columbia, where Motley Crue and Bon Jovi were in the bars every night watching us play. I sat down at a bar one night and drank scotch with Jimmy Page. He bought me cocktails. He liked our band. So to be in that era and feel like, oh my God, like I've only got so much time, or else I don't get to be a rock star. That was too bad, because I wasted a lot of time thinking about that. My attitude about it now, as I'm in my silver years, as it were, is that I've got all the time in the world. I just have to stay healthy and happy. And I have to, once again, be happy creating music. Some will be good. Some will be bad. Some will be awful. But you know what? You never know. some might just be great. And if nothing else, I'm going to have the longest funeral, hopefully, because the only thing I insist is that we're going to listen to every song I wrote when that on that day. And if you don't want to listen to them all, don't come in. So my plan is to have a fairly long funeral, and so that's a good end game.
Oh my goodness, you beat my mom out. She only wants to hear old time rock and roll. That's the one thing she wants played at her funeral. I hope that's 150 years from now, Mom. And you mentioned golf. My mother, she bought me a golf jacket. I've never golfed more than putt golf one time in my life, but golf, the game of golf, I get to pass by a lot of golf courses here in Conway, Arkansas, and I see people walking and driving their carts and just putting that ball. It's got to be
it's a wonderful
spiritual thing. It's good exercise. Are you really that good at golf? Is that something that you play weekly?
I was a good golfer at one point. You get to a point in your life where you go, what am I going to have to give up to get better at something? And so I got to a point in my life where if I was going to get better, I was going to have to stop doing other things, and which means being home as much, or maybe not much, and really, my natural talent had run out. So I still play. I still love it. I don't play nearly as good as I used to. I have more fun now than I ever did. You can play this game. You can play. My brother's mother-in-law played it till she was 101. And once again, if you can keep your fingers nimble and you can keep your mind sharp, you can play that guitar. You can play those drums as long as you want, and that's what's so nice. As long as you can stay healthy and you can stay sharp, no one can take that away from you. And I don't feel that I'm out of time. I'll be, I have the power, as long as I have the motivation and power to write. I'll be writing regardless of whether you're seeing it on YouTube or not. I promise you, if my name comes up 5 years from now and you haven't heard from me, I wonder what he's doing. I've been writing songs.
Well, as Danny Glover said in one of my favorite Christmas movies, you're not too old for this. Yes, Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie. Fight me on it.
It is. Absolutely it is.
But no, you mentioned that your dad was a real estate agent. That's a type of salesman. And I see salesmen all the time walking up and down the golf courses. I think they pretty much have business meetings while they're playing golf. It's fascinating to me. And I know it's kind of an expensive sport, a sport of kings. I don't know
Well, the reason that people play golf in business is it's impossible not to be yourself for that long of a time. You can put on a face, but when you actually go out there, when you go out to play golf with a guy at business, and I've done this too because I'm a businessman as well, and my day job is, you see a guy cheat in golf, he'll cheat you in business. You see a guy that's gracious, you see a guy that's an honorable man on the golf course on over 18 holes on a hot day when he's golfing poorly and you're golfing well, and you see somebody that's a gracious loser, you've got somebody you can trust there. So yes, golf is a great way to find out who you're sitting with.
Yeah, how many 7-irons are in the woods in the drink because they didn't hit that ball the right way. The 9-iron is now a part of the tree because he threw it up there.
No, that's true, man. It's totally true.
But you mentioned your day job, and I do want to get into the tourism of Fort St. John. It says it's the energetic city, and when I was reading about the city itself, it says there's a whole lot of energy that comes out of there, and it's a kind of a play not just on the resources, but also on the people are a little bit younger than the rest of the province. Tell me about Fort St. John. If you were on the tourist board, what can I find there? And is it energetic?
Well, we supply about 75% of all the energy to North America from this area. Apparently, a lot of dinosaurs died up here, and there is a lot of oil and gas, and that is predominantly how this country, this part of the country, has survived. That's what I did when I retired. When I left the music industry on my first venture, I came here to raise my family, and I was working building pipelines out in the field for about a decade. And yes, a lot of young, hardworking people working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, relentless conditions. And it's done so that when it gets cold in Chicago or Montreal or wherever you might be, these pipelines go all the way through the States. And when you turn on your heat, it's because somebody up here connected that well to the providers of your energy. So that's why it's called that. It's also one of the most beautiful parts of the country for nature. I'm very historically grounded to this part of the world, as my grandfather was one of the first people that ever got here back in the early 1900s, and he had the first store here and was here for many years before the town actually existed. And he still has a school named after him here, and it's one of the reasons I moved my family from the city to here, so that my children would realize that they're not anonymous and they have something that they stand for, and that their last name is not just a bunch of letters put together. It means something, and that they are accountable. And it served me very well because I have two fantastic children that contribute wherever they go, whatever they can. And certainly, you never forget when you meet one of my children. They make a statement for sure.
The Fort St. John Tourism Board absolutely should hire you, Craig Brooks. You got roots there. Your whole family's been there for for more than 100 years. And that's my wife. She is kind of a historian, and she's been trying to dig up history and ancestry.com. She's got roots that are like an oak tree. She can find people that were signing the Declaration of Independence that were in her family. Okay. I got roots like a radish. I can't get past my grandfather. And it's amazing to know the people that made you and that made the place that you're in. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, our country's pretty young compared to the United States, so it's not a very long history, but I think it's something that's important. Like I said, I think I said it already. You don't know where you're going if you don't know where you came from. And my son, he lives in Vancouver, British Columbia, and plays across the country, and always insists on coming home and loves being here. And it's the nice, best 20,000 people you ever meet. And in my opinion.
Well, I'm certainly a consumer of fossil fuels. I know at some point we're going to have to find something else, but the history of that is amazing. The Standard Oil, the Rockefeller, making the pipelines, so he didn't have to rely so much on the trains. How much do you know about that history? Yep. Who put the pipelines through Canada? Was it also Standard Oil after Rockefeller passed away, or was it, who put the pipelines there?
I do know where the first well was drilled, and it was drilled in somewhere south of Calgary. A friend of mine lives on a piece of property very close to there. I don't know specific history about it, but I know that all of my friends over the last, I got here in 1990, 95, I think, and I was in the oil and gas industry for 25, 30 years. And all of my friends, all those in the last 30 years, I know a person that's put any piece of pipe that's been put in the ground in this country. I know somebody that's done it. They travel. They're nomadic, right? They live in trailers. They're away for long periods of time. It's big money. So yeah, all of my friends, that's what they've done, and that's what I did. I didn't go on the road like that because one of the reasons I took this job is to be with my family, and I entered into management fairly quickly. because my interest is in people. It's the true equity that we have. You know, you can always buy another truck. You can always build another dozer or a hoe up or a hoe or whatever. But people are truly the most outstanding thing, and this great entity that are marginalized so often as not as important as the other things in the successful company. I don't believe that. I believe people are everything, and my experience in the music industry has confirmed that with me. The people I've worked with and the work that we've done was not based on the fact that they were special or they were they were geniuses or they were oracles. They were just people doing their very best. And when you're no musician, no singer songwriter ever rose to fame and fortune without a team. And I think that and oddly enough, pipelining, if I were ever to explain that process, is such a team effort. It's a large group of people with absolutely no education, going out and doing an amazing amount of work in a short period of time.
Yeah, the underlying of this conversation that there's room for everyone in this business, whether you're just starting off or you're at a different level. But I've talked to a lot of I know that roughnecking and drilling for oil is a young man's game. I've seen these kids and they come home with thousands of dollars in their pocket, but it's hard work. They go away for a couple of weeks, a month, and then they come home, tired. Maybe for a week or two, and they go right back out. But I get I get to meet up with them at weddings. I DJ a lot of weddings, and a lot of these kids they'll make up a stack of money, and hopefully, somebody smart in their family or themselves is telling them, save your money, save it, because your body's going to wear out before that money gets built up. So it's. But I kind of liken it to a sports hero where they'll make $45,000 a week, making their money, but their bodies are going to give out. And this musicianship thing as well. The money can be good, but the work's not steady. The music industry, it's a hustle. I mean, you've been doing this a long time, but I'm glad you had the wherewithal to have a day job that can afford you to do the night job, to do what you love. And it sounds like you really enjoy the energy business as well. That sounds like it's something that you've come to and you're able to do it, and it's not sucking your soul as some jobs do.
Well, life's a balance, right? Life's a balance. I could probably be a richer man if I had made different choices. But I'm okay. And I'm, like I said, I'm in a great part of my life where I'm consistent. I am not extremely creative. I am not overflowing with ideas, but there's always an idea. And every time I pick up the guitar, there's a song in there somewhere that I'm trying to massage out. Anytime I could have 5 to 6 ideas going on right now that I'm just trying to get to the table. Some are going to fall by the wayside. I'll go back and listen to them, 6 months from now and go, wait a minute, I forgot all about that. And that'll get reignited. And then they go in different stages, right? So they get to my phone first. And after they go off my phone, they get to a little thing I got called a Skype. And it's a little 8-track recorder. And then I put down a little version of that. And once that's done, I have some pre-production friends of mine that we take it to the next level. And every time it's kind of getting refined. But I always like keeping those old versions just in case you lose your way on the song and go, oh, we've got this great song. But it's certainly not that song. It's not the song I wrote. And I can rewrite that. I can write that song again. One song can give me 4 different songs if I'm willing to not get so married to the first idea. They're not kids. Yeah, they're real special when they first come out, but after that, it's like, oh, that's my favorite. Yeah, that's because you just made it, right? But trust me, 6 months from now, you'll have a new favorite. So no, it's like I say, it's very exciting, and talking to you gets me so jacked up about it. I really appreciate your time here.
No, I like these conversations. It sounds like you're good. You're a good example, not just to yourself, but also to your kids. They're following in your footsteps, and you didn't even push them. You didn't even tell them they had to play piano for 5 years, like your mom and dad told you. They just automatically picked up. How many kids are playing instruments? How many kids do you have that are playing instruments?
I have two children, and my one plays, and the other doesn't. And I certainly didn't. I certainly didn't. My son did his first show at a theater in our town. It happened to be a theater my dad built, which is odd. And there was a poster out there with him standing doing a Johnny the Captain Morgan pose with a ukulele under his foot, because that's what he was playing at the time. And I said, "Are you doing a show at the Lido?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "What are you going to play?" And he had been practicing heavily. Oh my goodness. My phone just told me my battery's dying. My God.
That's all right. We only got a couple more minutes.
Okay. And he said, "No, I got some songs planned." And he played a whole set, and I'd never heard any of it. And he continues to amaze me. I encourage you. I'm just going to give him a little shout out since we're here, but I would encourage you to check out an artist called Summer's Brother. And that is my son, Connor, whose sister is called Summer. And he calls himself Summer's Brother, and he's a contemporary pop artist who's the drummer and fronts a band as the drummer. And he's got a new single out called Misinformation. Give it a listen, because I'm pretty hard on him, because I know how hard it is to do this job. So I feel no reason to sugarcoat his existence, because it's just going to hamper him. But this young man's above average and deserves to be heard.
Well, I already know he's a good dude. He's looking out for his sister. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Take care of your brother and your sister, and then work your way out into the community. That's fantastic. I'd love to have him on the show, and we can chit chat on the What Makes You Famous podcast. All right, my man, since your phone's about to die, I want you to give some shout outs. I know our first shout out's got to be the Big Records for putting us together. That's the shout out I'm going to give, because those fine folks are sending so many people my way, and I'm learning so much from the fine people, Big Records. But give some shout outs to people that have helped you along the way.
Well, Big Records has been a big part of this year for me. Great vision, and they do it for the right reasons. They're not, they don't sugarcoat it as well, but they are there to support artists, and they've definitely been an inspiration to me and the people. And I've got to meet so many other great artists that are doing the same thing I am, and it's really exciting. I got to just shout out to my wife, who endures all this. She takes a backseat a lot to this a lot of times, and there's a lot of nights where she comes up to see me, but when it's all done, I'm still there getting the job done, and so she's certainly been a huge inspiration for me, and such a great supporter. We've been together 33 years, and she's seen it all, and she's my biggest fan. She loves she always tells me. We were just in Mexico last week and took a guitar down, and she says, "Bring the guitar down and play me your songs on the beach." And she's always there. And of course, I think this another guy. I think you're a historian. I can tell you're a reader. You got to check out a guy named Larry Rogers. His name was Larry the Blade Rogers. He's very big in the 90s. Garth Brooks' demos. He's the guy that's working with me right now in a studio called Studio 19 out of Franklin, Tennessee. And him and his team took these new songs that I put together that are on Big Records right now, and they just truly captured what I wanted out of this music. Many times you'll go into a studio, and like you say, you'll end up with a great song. It wasn't the song you wrote. And that's not bad, because sometimes I've been surprised. It's like, wow, that is not the song I thought I wrote. It's a great song. But at the same time, you kind of you miss the song you wrote. These guys grabbed my songs and they sound exactly the way I wanted them to sound. I'm unapologetic about them. I plan to go back in the late spring. We've got 3 more on tap to do. And I'm just looking forward to delivering more of the music that I'm doing because they seem to be able to tap into what I'm thinking before I'm thinking it. So those gentlemen have been absolutely phenomenal for me. And to the people that have downloaded the new songs already and got me on the charts, and that's special. Anytime a guy, I don't care who you are, anytime you hear your song on the radio, there's something special about it. It's just driving down the road and all of a sudden, that happened to me one time in the Okanagan. I was just driving down the road and the station was playing my song. I didn't even know they had it. And that just never gets old. So to those people out there like yourself that are promoting our artists and are helping us get our word out there, it's a struggle. There's no doubt about it. There's there's such a small percentage chance of huge success, and yet we all just do it for the love of it. And I know you do that as well. So I'd like a big shout out to you, brother, for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it.
No, it's nice to have producers that help you realize your visions. I see you have the latest 3 songs, Send Me a Song, The Bridges I've Burned, and Springtime in Nashville that are out there and ready for people to put their ears on them. And there's a whole stack of other stuff. I mean, I'd love to see, now that you're part of this big records thing, are there going to be festivals where all of you can get together on certain stages and maybe jam at the end? Some of my favorites have been, going to carnivals or state fairs or whatever and seeing all these different musicians. And at the end, they all kind of jam together, different bands. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, Big Records has this thing called Rise Up, and it's incredible. I actually was supposed to be a part of the one that they did in southeast United States over just before Christmas. I had some health reasons I couldn't go, but they take a group of big records people out. They put them in these different clubs and give a chance for everyone to see them. They record them. They make TV shows on it. And so I certainly, check out Rise Up TV. You'll be able to see a group of 5 or 6 musicians that go out and do a show, and then they'll stop off at some place like a hospital for veterans, and they'll do a show during the day on the way. And it's really great stuff. What Mark and Tim and all the rest of the team at Big Records have done for these artists. It's true. It's gracious. I'm humbled, and I'm so happy that they're working with me. So greatly appreciate it.
All right, Craig C.C. Brooks, I know your phone's about to die. I don't want this to be the last time that we talk. I want you to come back. In fact, next time, absolutely. I already know the topics are going to be in part about KISS and BTO and you on your drums and who's your favorite drummer and how you became a drummer and a singer at the same time. It's I'm thinking Phil Collins. I know everybody thinks Phil Collins when you think drumming and singing, but there's so many others. But I want to end this with last words for the people. I want you to give some last words. Maybe the words to live by, maybe something you heard a long time ago, maybe a mantra that you wake up with every morning, or just whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Craig C.C. Brooks, give the last words for the people.
Well, I just say to all the people out there that the music is out there for you to hear, and it's not necessarily where you usually look. Dig a little deeper out there for the independent artists. Every one of those people that you have all their songs on your playlist right now, at one point in time, nobody was listening to them, and I highly recommend that. It's a great, as music enthusiasts, which I am one, and I'm sure the people that watch your show are. There's nothing better than getting down and finding those great artists and supporting them. Just be a part of great artists out there that most likely will never ever see the major light, but they are still incredible, and they deserve your attention. So please take the extra time to take one more scoop deeper and some music, because it's just sitting out. It's there for your enjoyment. And once again, thank you, sir, for your time. I love how good you are at what you do. I love how well researched you are, and it kind of scares me what you might know about me. But we'll discuss that next time.
Well, there you have it, party people. C.C. Brooks, Craig Cameron Brooks, out there in Fort St. John, British Columbia. The man is a staple of Fort St. John. His whole family's been there for over 100 years, and you've made roots. And I'm glad that you brought the kids, the wife and kids, all back to the homeland, to where it all began. Yeah, that's fantastic. You lay roots. I'm sure the people around you, they want to hear you play. They want to hear you sing. So if you just stayed in Fort St. John, you could make some kind of a living. But you're too much for that. You're too big for that. I want to see you go all over the country, all over Canada, and all over the North American continent and beyond. If you can get a good group of people that can get their schedules together, it's hard. That's definitely hard. Getting a whole band full of people together. It's easier to grab a guitar and then go busk, go be a solo. If you could sing and play guitar, that's probably the easiest thing for a musician. Or if you could sing and play piano, play keyboard, or sing and play fiddle or violin. What's the difference between a fiddle and a violin? See, I'm no musician. I just enjoy talking to musicians. It was so good having you on the show, C.C. Brooks. Now, make sure you look up, I didn't even mention, make sure you look up C.C. Brooks, Cameron Brooks, on the interwebs. But the first thing you need to do is go to ccbrooks.country. Yeah, he's got a .country address. That'll tell you where you're going to be starting when you listen into a C.C. Brooks songs. So ccbrooks.country. All right, visit him on the web and find out where he's going to be. Stalk that man and his band of merry men, his bandmates. All right, I'm getting a little giddy now. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Thank you so much, C.C. Brooks, for being on the show. Now, if you, yes, you, my loyal listener, if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's keysdan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.